Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you all to Ravana Aviation Research and Development Platform. I'm Sashi and I'm today's host and moderator. I'm here with another informative session by Dr. Shruti, who has successfully completed her PhD in the year 2018 on aviation science and aircraft as reflected in Vedic and ancient texts. And this was in analysis in comparison with the modern aircraft and a few aspects of aircraft technology. She did this from the Department of Sanskrit at Jain University, Bangalore, under the guidance of Dr. Rajani Jairam, Professor in Sanskrit, Dean at Jain University, Bangalore. She has completed her BE in Instrumentation Technology and MTech in Electronics from Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belgavi, and MA in Sanskrit from Karnataka State Open University, Mysore, before taking up her PhD at Jain University. She is currently working as a technical project manager at V2 Soft Private Limited, Bangalore, and handling development and testing projects on Java, PHP, Drupal, and Selenium. She has written several articles and has also published in reputed international journals. One among them being Mechanical Contrivances and Dhadu Vimanas described in Samarangana Sutradhara of Bojadeva in IOSR Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences in 2015. There are many other more published articles which would be later linked to the video where you could check them out, and also they might help you out in your further researches. We invite Shruti ma'am from the bottom of her heart to take up her presentation today. So let's now get into the journey of more information into this aspect. Shruti ma'am, you could start presenting now.
Thank you, Shishita, for a wonderful introduction of mine. So, welcome all audience. So, for this webinar, I am Dr. Shruthi.K.R. Completed my PhD from Jain University, Bangalore. Currently working as technical project manager at V2 Soft Bangalore. Today, I'm here to present my research on aviation science and aircraft as reflected in Vedic and ancient texts, analysis in comparison with modern aircrafts, and a few aspects of aircraft technology. So it's just a quick bird's eye view of my research. So let's start that. The main objective of my research was to conceptually connect the aviation science of the past with our current aircraft technology, and then appreciate the contributions given by our ancient scholars in the field of aviation science, then study the description of Vimanas in various ancient texts, and then compare it with modern aircraft, then document the findings from this research so that our current generation can get insights of contributions of our ancient scholar. So with this, we can understand the relevancy of ancient works in today's world. So finally, study if these descriptions of Vimanas in ancient texts can provide ideas for designing aircrafts, better aircrafts in future. So with these objectives, I started my research. So this is like a big ocean, so I had to limit myself with the scope for the research. So I took up studying the description of Vimanas in Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, Vaimanika Shastra, then Rigveda, Yajurveda, Artha Shastra, and then try to compare those features with features in modern aircraft. And then, so this is just a part of it. For that, I had to study a lot of research articles, then project studies, then Samarangana Sutradhara written by Bojadeva, and then description of Marutsaka Vimana, then ancient aircrafts or spacecrafts across the world. And then there are a lot of carvings of Vimanas in many historical places. So I had to study them as well. And then I restricted myself to conceptual study, so practical experiments and scientific research to prove the technical information available in ancient literary work was out of scope of my research. So these were the books which I mainly considered for literature review. Other than that, there are many other books. So as I told, Valmiki Ramayana and Mahabharata of Vyasa, then Srimad Bhagavatam. So description of Vimanas in Vedas. Then Maharshi Bharadwaja's Vaimanika Shastra, written by Subbaraya Shastri. And then there are series of books written by David Hatcher Childress, like Vimana Aircraft and ancient India and Atlantis, then Technology of the Gods, then Vimana Flying Machines of the Ancients, then Samarangana Sutradhara of Bhojadeva, then Mahabharata. So then so description of Talpade's Vimana, and then a few articles related to thought powered aircrafts. So this was the methodology of my research. So it was a multidisciplinary qualitative research where we had extensive review of literature, then understanding the available literary evidences was very important for me, and then study the advancements in the field of aircraft technology. So I'm not an aerospace engineer. So I have done my BE in instrumentation and MTech in electronics. And then I was very much interested in Sanskrit. So I did MA in Sanskrit, and then started this PhD work from the Department of Sanskrit. So with little bit of engineering background and interest in Sanskrit, so I tried to compare what is there in ancient works with what is there in the features which are there in our modern aircrafts, without actually getting into the details about the work. Then comparison between the aviation science of ancient Vedic era and today's aircraft technology, analysis and conclusions based on findings. So I had to restrict myself with a couple of hypothesis statements for this research. There are conceptual similarities between Vimanas described in Vedic and other ancient texts when compared to modern aircrafts. So mainly thought-powered aircraft or Kamagam Yanam described in Ramayana and Mahabharata can be conceptually compared with thought-powered aircraft being researched by researchers from University of Minnesota and even the Technical University of Munich in Germany as well. This was my first hypothesis. And the second one was destruction caused by Saubha Vimana described in Srimad Bhagavatam and Hiranyapura described in Mahabharata can be conceptually compared with that of the most powerful bomber aircraft used in wars. So Saubha Vimana is something which King Salva received as a boon by doing deep penance to Lord Shiva. So it was a metallic flying city. And then Hiranyapura, so it was a floating city. So Daitya Puloma had done severe penance for several years and received it as a boon from Lord Brahma. This we can find this description in Mahabharata. So both can be compared with the most powerful bomber aircrafts which can be used in wars. And then there were visual similarities between carvings of Vimanas or rockets or spacecraft in ancient heritage sites when compared with modern aircraft. So if we see Ellora, in cave number 16, we have a carving where Ravana has tied his Vimana to his back. So that can be compared with modern jetpack. So similarly, there are many other carvings of ancient Vimanas across the world. So maybe Seti temple. So that can be compared with our modern helicopter. So we'll get into the details of it in further slides. Another interesting topic which I had to take was the concept of using mercury as a propellant described in Samarangana Sutradhara of Bojadeva, which can be conceptually compared with similar concept mentioned in some of the Kritaka Vimanas described in Vaimanika Shastra. So mainly there are four types of Kritaka Vimanas which are explained in detail in Vaimanika Shastra. So in one of the Vimana they have told about mercury being used as propellant. Even Bhoja Raja in his Samarangana Sutradhara has described Alagudaru Vimana, which uses mercury as a propellant. So both of these can be compared with Mercury vortex engine designed by NASA. So I took these four hypotheses and proceeded with my research. So we can find a lot of description of Vimanas in our ancient texts. So mainly in Ramayana, we have a description of Ravana's Vimanas. So first time it comes in Aranyakanda when Ravana comes in an aerial chariot to abduct Sita. And then in Sundarakanda, we have beautiful description of Pushpaka Vimanas. We also have some description which says that there were 7 airport hangars in Ravana's Lanka city. So we have wonderful description of Pushpaka Vimana there. The main concept which we have to take again there is everything was Kamagam Vimanam. That means the thought powered aircraft. So if the pilot decides where to go, so based on his thought power, the aircraft used to reach that destination. So that is the speciality of those Vimanas. Similarly, in Mahabharata, we have Indra's aerial chariot. So when Arjuna wanted to travel to Amaravati, so Matali brought the Indra's aerial chariot, so which had lot of weapon holding abilities, and took him to Amaravati. So we have beautiful description of that aerial chariot. So we have description stating that Indra's Amaravati had a very big airport which could accommodate, which could park thousands of Vimanas. And we find the description stating that hundreds of Vimanas were flying in all the directions. So this is something which we will not even see it currently or these days. So if we think of it, then we should think about the advancements during our ancient era. But the question which comes to our mind is, how did all those things get lost as the eras passed by? And then we also have description of Asura Maya's Vimana in Mahabharata. Then, as I already told you, description of Hiranyapura. So then um, we have in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have Saubha Vimana. So coming to description of Saubha Vimana, everything started during Rukmini's Swayamvara. So Shishupala wanted to marry Rukmini, but Krishna married Rukmini, and Salva also was part of that Swayamvara. And so during that time, so Salva enmity developed between the entire Yadavas and uh, Salva. So yeah, Salva performed a severe penance just by consuming a handful of mud for several years, and received Saubha Vimana as a boon from Lord Shiva. So and he wanted such a Vimana which could he wanted an aerial city which can never be destructible and which can travel anywhere at will. So again, it is a Kamagam Vimanam, the thought-powered aircraft. And then so that's how Bhavimana so he brought it to Dwaraka and raged a war against all the entire Yadava clan. So in from that Vimana he started dropping he started destroying all the tall palaces and the gardens, and he dropped huge stones, then Vajrayudhas and snakes, and destroyed entire Dwaraka city. So then Yadavas were very angry with him, and they this Vimana was uh, made suddenly in it was suddenly invisible and suddenly visible. One if it was visible on mountains on in a second, and in the next second it was moving over the ocean. So then they started, all the Yadavas started throwing their arrows in all the direction across the sky, and they with their weapons they totally destroyed this Saubha Vimana. So we have a beautiful description of that in Srimad Bhagavatam, which can be compared with modern B2 Spirit bomber aircraft. Then coming to Vedas, we have a description of different modes of transportation, be it Jalayan or Khara or Tripura Ratha, Trichakra Ratha, Vayu Ratha, Vidyut Ratha. So we can go over those descriptions in detail in further slides. So even in Yajurveda, we have the description of aircraft, and we have Agnihotra Vimana and Gaja Vimana. So Agnihotra Vimana had two engines, and Gaja Vimana or Elephant Vimana had multiple engines. Then Samarangana Sutradhara of Bhoja Deva has description of Laghu Dharu Vimana and Alaghu Dharu Vimana. So, Bhoja Raja has mentioned that he had whatever Vimanas he had described, he has personally seen these Vimanas. So this can be considered as authentic proof for Vimanas during that era. So Dharu means wood. So there were two types of Dharu Vimana, Laghu Dharu Vimana and Alaghu Dharu Vimana. So we have description of these Vimanas where which can be compared with the Hasti Yantra described in Artha Shastra. So, and these Dharu Vimanas, Alaghu Dharu Vimana was making roaring noise like a roaring noise because of mercury being used as propellant, and that could be even used to scare away elephants in the battlefield. The same concept is explained by Kautilya in his Arthashastra. There he has mentioned about Hasti Yantra. So Hasti Yantra also performs the same thing. And then next, coming to Vaimanika Shastra, we have description of Shakuna Vimana, Sundara Vimana, Rukma Vimana, and Tripura Vimana. Next, the concept of thought-powered aircraft. So, as we have already discussed, so now let's compare how we can bring in the similarity with description in ancient text with the thought-powered aircraft. So I was explaining about Saubha Vimana. So in Srimad Bhagavatam in section 10.76.8, we have Salabdva Kamagam Yanam Tamodhama Durasadam. So similarly, in Ravana's Pushpaka Vimana, we have Tat Pushpakam Kamagam Vimana. And then in Mahabharata, when we describe Indra's Amaravati, so we have Tatra Deva Vimanani Kamagani Sahasrashaha. So in all these places, we have the concept of Kamagam Yanam or Kamagam Vimanam. So this concept can be compared with thought-powered aircraft. So, University of Minnesota in USA and Technical University of Munich in the years 2013 and 2014, they have done the research to prove the concept of thought-powered aircraft. So they have designed a helmet with multiple electrodes. By wearing those helmets, the electrodes in the helmet, it is converting um, all the signals from the brain to non-invasive signals. So if we think that the aircraft should move right, it can move right. If we think it should move front, it will move front. If we think it should move left, it will move left. So that is the kind of research which they have done on quadcopter and drones, and it has practically worked out. With this, we can like conceptually compare that the Kamagam Vimanam described in ancient texts can be compared with our thought-powered aircrafts. That means during ancient era, so these people should have had our ancestors should have had Vimanas, which used similar technologies. So now we can think about so this is the flight simulation which they had tried. So here is the helmet which has multiple electrodes. So um, so German scientists showed how 7 pilots with some or no previous experience of flying used mind control to fly with astonishing accuracy. So I have given the link for that article. So whenever if people have time, you can definitely check that. So even though they did not have a prior experience of flying, just by flight simulation, they could fly the aircraft. So this is the very interesting concept, and you can refer to more details on this in my research PhD thesis, which is available in Shodh Ganga. So it's you can even browse regarding this. We have a lot of news articles about this concept. Aviators use nothing but their brains to fly a plane, and they do it with astonishing accuracy. So you can check this link to go through the news article related to that 2014 news article. So we have one more news article related to that. Would you fly on a mind controlled plane? Scientist pilots a drone using just his thought, and technology could come one day be used on commercial aircraft. So, this article also is very interesting. So, you can go through this article. And Journal of Neural Engineering has published the article on quadcopter control in three-dimensional space using a non-invasive motor imagery brain-based computer interface, imagery-based brain-computer interface. So this article also is very interesting. You can refer to that. So now let's come to fighter or bomber aircrafts used in ancient wars. So we have already discussed about these Saubha Vimana, then Indra's aerial chariot, and Hiranyapura. So when like how Krishna and Yadavas, entire Yadavas waged a war against Saubha, Salva and destroyed Saubha Vimana, Arjuna fought against all the Daityas and Paulamas and destroyed the complete Hiranyapura. So Hiranyapura also has the same um, weapon holding abilities as that of Saubha Vimana. So we can compare these aerial chariots with B2 Spirit bomber aircraft, which is the best bomber aircraft in the world. Even the Indra's aerial chariot. So these are the features which are available in B2 Spirit stealth bomber aircraft. So it has two weapon bays at the center and capacity of 40,000 pounds and conventional and nuclear weapon holding abilities, precision guided munitions, 16 satellite guided missiles, range of maritime weapons. So all these features can be compared, conceptually compared. So to technically compare, we do not have any proof. Conceptually, I have tried to compare them with Saubha Vimana, Hiranyapura and Indra's aerial chariot. So details of those can be referred in my PhD thesis. So features of Saubha Vimana in comparison with modern aircrafts. So mainly mass destructing abilities. So Saubha Vimana could split into multiple forms. Even B2 Spirit aircraft can split into multiple forms. So both are bomber aircraft. Both had object detection system and stealth features. So the next thing is comparison between aircraft terminal at Amaravati with largest international airport. As I told, Indra's Amaravati had thousands of aircrafts parked. So it had hundreds of Vimanas traveling in all the directions. Most of them were thought powered aircrafts. So of course we are not yet advanced to have so many thought powered aircrafts flying commercially all over, but at least if we have to imagine an airport which can park thousands of Vimanas, the first thing which comes to our mind is King Fahad International Airport at Saudi Arabia. So so if we think of King Fahad International Airport, then that also will not have parking space for thousands of Vimanas. That means Indra's Amaravati should be many times larger than King Fahad International Airport. So even now we never get a chance to see hundreds of Vimanas traveling in all the directions. But during Dwapara Yuga itself, we had that technology was prevalent. So now let's discuss about Vimanas and different modes of transportation described in Rigveda. They are Jalayan, then Khara, Trithala, Trichakra Ratha, Vayu Ratha, and Vidyut Ratha. So in next session, let's go through each one of them in detail so that I can compare how these modes of transportation can be compared with modern modes of transportation. And further in the next session, let's go through Maharshi Bharadwaja's Vaimanika Shastra in detail, and let's see the description of Vimanas and the process of purification of metals and Bastradhikarana and other aspects in detail in the next session. Followed by that, I have few interesting topics like the comparison between the carvings of ancient Vimanas and our heritage sites in comparison with modern aircrafts. So thank you all for giving me an opportunity to present my research in this wonderful forum. I am really happy to be part of this session and would like to provide further sessions whenever it is required. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Ravana Aviation Research and Development Center and Captain Harsha sir, then Shanuka, and each and every one who is the part of this forum for providing me an opportunity to be a part of this webinar. Thank you all.
Now you can ask your questions from the Shruti ma'am.
Actually, I am Captain Harsha Kolarachi. I am the founder of Ravana Aviation Research and Development Division. Thank you very much, Dr. Shruthi. Yes, very wonderful the presentation. Thank you for that. And we learn a lot of information from Sanskrit texts and the ancient books. Now, my question is, now we know that ancient the aviation technology is most dominated in the Southeast Asian countries, especially the Sri Lanka and India. Now, when you come to this Sanskrit wording, the decoding, the words are concept. The concepts are having a lot of meaning, and you can in different the ways. My question is, how did you decode this Sanskrit wording exactly that what to interpret here?
Yes, so here decoding the Sanskrit version of Vaimanika Shastra, like it is attempted by like many people. So we have G.R. Joshia's English translation of Vaimanika Shastra, and we have many other works. But still, the biggest challenge there is we really don't know whether the materials mentioned in the, for example, we have the a chapter called Lohadikarana for purification of metals required in Vimana preparation. So if we look into those metals, like if we look into those materials, it's really difficult to find out whether the Sanskrit text mentions about the real material or those materials are in coded form. So for purification of metal, they mention about the usage of donkey's urine, and then there are many instances where for creation of cameras they have mentioned about usage of eagle's eyeball or nails of Sinkorana. So we really don't know whether those materials are real materials or it is in coded form, which we have to still come back with the way to decode or decrypt them. So that is the biggest challenge, because of which even for today we have still not succeeded in developing the aircraft as mentioned in Vaimanika Shastra.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, second question is, when you come to this Tanagam Vimana, thought-powered Vimana, so how actually it is practicable. We know that if you can take that whatever the mental power into output from the electroid, and you can use that. We have in the devices now in the world, present 21st century technology. Now, Kanagam and this word,
Kamagam Yanam.
yeah, Kanagam. Kanagam, this word is, how did you count this conceptually? The word, the decoding, the Kanagam.
Kamagam Yanam.
Yeah, Kanagam. Yes. Can you tell
Yeah.
me that this? How did you? Is there any clues of this meaning decode for the Kanagam to the thoughts? Is there any?
Yes. So in Sanskrit, Kamagam Yanam means it is thought-powered aircraft.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that means the aircraft which goes at our own will. So wherever we wish that aircraft should go, it will go. So we have the description of this Kamagam Yanam like multiple times in Ramayana. So as I told that Tat Pushpakam Kamagam Yanam. So it says that Pushpakam Kamagam Yanam Tamodama Durasadam. So like this is a description of aerial chariot in which Ravana came to abduct Sita. So there we have the mention of Kamagam Yanam. So then even when Ravana was defeated and Rama decides to go back to Ayodhya, Vibhishana decides to send him in Pushpaka Vimana. There also we have the mention of the word Kamagam Vimanam. So in Ramayana, we have it multiple times. Then as I told, even in description of Saubha Vimana, we have Kamagam Yanam. So like that, even in the description of Indra's Amaravati, we have Tat Vimanani Kamagani Sahasrashaha. So like that, we have the description of Kamagam Yanam multiple times. So everywhere the meaning is same. It is Vimanas which can fly at the will of the pilot.
Okay,
So
and
that,
doctor, yeah, thank
yeah.
you. Now, Kamagam Vimana, now you are according to your explanation, and the Kamagam Vimana. The Pushpak Vimana is a category of the Kamagam Vimana, am I right?
Yes, correct.
Now, if it is there, so this Kamagam is powered to link with the this Mercury powered engine, or just what is final output of the power flow chart?
So here, when they say Kamagam Yanam, it they do not speak about whether mercury is used as propellant or whatever is used. So in Ramayana era, that is Treta Yuga, all the Vimanas were Mantrika Vimanas. So there we do not have such concept. So when we discuss about Yuga Dharma based classification of Vimanas, Vimanas in Treta Yuga were Mantrika Vimanas, Vimanas in Dwapara Yuga were Tantrika Vimanas, and Vimanas in Kali Yuga were Kritaka Vimanas. So so what we can do is we can just conceptually compare those with whatever we currently have in today's world. So they were Mantrika Vimanas. We can conceptually compare with the research which University of Minnesota in USA and Technical University of Munich in Germany have done it. So we really don't know how those thought-powered aircrafts worked. But we can conceptually compare that feature with what these researchers have tested today. So they have designed a helmet with electrodes which will convert the brain signals to non-invasive signals, through which if you think that the aircraft should fly in one direction, it will fly in that direction. The test is just a simulation. So there are multiple researchers done on this. In 2013, in Journal of Neural Engineering, they have done a research based on a quadcopter, where they could successfully test the flight of that quadcopter based on our thought power.
Okay.
And similarly, they have tested it with drones as well. Professor Binhi and team. So they have tested the flight using a drone. We
Okay.
can refer to video of that as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. Another question, if you, another two questions. Now, when you come to this conceptually compare with this modern 21st century B2 bomber, and
Yeah,
what you brought this from the Sanskrit wording
yeah,
and similarities. So,
yeah.
what can you justify this conceptually, and how did you do that?
See,
Conceptual mean what are the your limitations of to make sure this conceptual justification bring B50 to same configuration we had in the ancient texts.
when we say conceptual comparison, that's why at the beginning of my research itself, I have mentioned that theoretical or practical experiments to prove the technical details in text is out of scope of this research. So, like it's not straightforward, and it's a long way to go to technically test them. So what when I mean conceptual comparison, that means in the description in our ancient text, they mention about some features. I'm just trying to see those features in modern aircraft. If those features are there, then I'm telling that we can conceptually compare them. For
Okay.
example, yeah, tell.
Okay, I can understand. Now,
Mm.
when you come to this Lagudharu Vimana and the Alagudharu Vimana
Yeah.
and light wood basically.
Yes, yes,
In Sri
yes.
Lanka, we have the very one ancient document that is the Amaravati. It's close to 1,200 years ago in Sri
Okay,
Lanka, and we in there that's in the English version is the flood of nectar.
okay.
Hmm. By the Gurlu Gomi,
Okay,
there we use this Laghu Daharu. Daharu means
okay.
basically they basically wood, light
Yes,
wood.
light wood. Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So in there actually, because I have been doing this research to establish aviation archaeology in Sri Lanka from year 2015. So I'm at the in my research and I'm at the in the latter stage. So there I have seen many concepts based on this modern what we have for present to 21st century. The aviation related the modern concept is we had in our ancient time. Now
Yeah.
nothing new, but problem is the decoding and the interpretations is the most important thing.
Yes.
So yeah, now my question is basically, doctor. Now the lightweight, yes, of course, we can have some kind of that justification, light wood aircraft. The
Yeah.
Alagu Daharu, the heavy wood. So
Yeah.
can you explain the heavy wood how they used to make sure they fly purpose? Because even
Yeah.
the basic concept is lightweight, more lift. So that is the lift to weight to lift ratio. We are actually we are doing this comparison to the in the our lift formula. Formula mean we want to make sure this lift high capability characteristics. Then if you can't do that, so how did you justify this Alagu Dharu Vimana and use in the ancient time?
Yes, I can explain that. So I am referring to verses from Samarangana Sutradhara of Bhojadeva. So he says, Ityameva Suramandira Tulyam Sanchalatyam Alagu Dharu Vimanam Adadita Vidhina Chaturo Antarasya Parabad Bhrutam Druda Kumban. So there he says that while Lagu Dharu Vimana is in the shape of a bird, Alagudharu Vimana is in the shape of temple. It flies along with a heavy aerial car made of wood. So here we have a propellant kind of thing for the aircraft to fly. So he also tells that it is a heavier Dharu Vimana which contains 4 pitches of mercury over iron ovens. When mercury is heated, it explodes quickly and becomes an object of decoration in the sky, mainly because of pots heated by slow ignition burnt within the steel or iron potsheds. So here, Alagu Dharu Vimana means like a rocket kind of thing which requires a propeller. So then they have used mercury as a propellant here. So that's the concept which is described.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Yes, thank you very
Yeah.
much for that.
Yeah.
There's another question from Dr. Sri Krishna.
Yeah.
He's asking what would be the major take-home message from the whole thesis on this ancient aviation concept to the present world. Furthermore, he adds major points from this work for further research which can be taken forward from the research scholars.
Yeah, so when we talk about the major take-home message, see, we have description of Vimanas in all our ancient texts. Starting from Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, and Rigveda, Yajurveda. So then many other ancient texts. So everywhere, as the main, when we talk about the main concept which we have taken, there is a mention of thought powered aircraft. That means even during that era, like people were thinking about all these thought powered aircrafts. So see, whatever our researchers are researching in 2013, 2014, those were already practical and were in use during that era. So that means the question which comes to our mind is like, where did that technology go? Or we really don't know whether to call it as technology or not. So like, how were people able to achieve all those? So there is a lot to learn from our ancient scholars, or from our ancient ancient texts. So if we try to understand them, so there is a lot which we can contribute to the modern world. So the main concept which we can take for future research is this thought powered aircraft itself. So it is currently in very initial state, but definitely there is a scope for us to research and dig in deep and bring in the concept of thought powered aircraft again. Okay, I'm seeing the message prerequisites for thought powered concepts. So see, prerequisites in the sense we will have to refer to a journal of neural engineering, and then so article related to thought powered aircraft on journal of neural engineering, and then a few other research articles which are available. So those articles I have cited in my PhD thesis. So considering these, considering what we can practically achieve in present days, we can start with those and then dig deep so that we can proceed further on that. Yes,
Now, I
sir.
would like to request the opinion and your thoughts of by doing this, research platform, and what do you think about that? How we can make sure the contribution to this modern world? Or you think that we can do a good future direction or some kind of the guidance to this modern world in different angles?
Yes, sir, definitely. A platform like this is really useful. See, many times while I was doing the research, I was referring to many of the research articles related to this topic. So I have referred to many articles written by Kavya Vadadi, Hemant, and team. But when this Ravana Aviation Research and Development Division WhatsApp group was created, so I was really happy to see all the people who are doing research in this area being part of this group. So I was able, what I was thinking is, if I was able to connect to those people 2 years back or 3 years back, while I was doing the research work, so maybe my research would have proceeded in a different direction. But no worries. So whatever research work I have done, it's just a beginning. So webinars like this, and then maybe if we can I really don't know if an event can be organized where we can bring all those people together. So in this COVID situation, it's really difficult to bring in people together in one place where they can gather and discuss with each other. But at least if this through this forum, we are definitely doing maybe seminars like this, and then maybe you can even call for writing articles. So if we people who have done some research work can write it as a research article, and maybe it can be published in the conference. So such things will really be helpful. But one more main thing which should be done is there are a lot of things described in our Sanskrit texts. And people who are well versed in Sanskrit will not know the technology today. So it's really difficult to bring in Sanskrit scholars and aerospace engineers. So through this forum, or through this Ravana Aviation Research and Development Division, if we can bring in those people together, so that they can work with each other and try to decode, as you were asking me previously. So we should decode exactly what our ancient scholars meant in while writing the book Vaimanika Shastra. If we correctly decode them and try to practically experiment them and develop aircraft like that, definitely our aviation industry will get a new turn in future days.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Shruti. I have a question over the chat box. Could you please reply to that?
Yeah, just a minute. So this is question, do any of the further researchers on thought powered concept do have to focus on specific thought regimens? If so, could you please list it out based on Vedas and all ancient scripts which has okay, I think which has the details. So if we check the ancient scripts, there they have not mentioned technically how to create thought powered aircraft. Mainly because, as I told, so the descriptions are from Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga. So there we had only Mantrika Vimanas and Tantrika Vimanas. So thought powered aircraft, if we explicitly consider that, so that concept is not mentioned in Vimanas of Kali Yuga. Or Kritaka Vimanas, as we consider Yuga Dharma based classification of Vimanas. So the only concept which we can get is how those aircrafts could have been. Based on whatever descriptions we have in ancient text. So we should currently think how we can practically achieve those Vimanas.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And so I would like to thank everyone for coming today, and thank you, Shruti ma'am, again, and Captain Harsha. And we welcome you all for the future sessions. And to conduct webinar sessions on our platform, please email us on the given email. And if you have further questions, also please direct into the given email on the screen. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shanuka. Thank you, Captain Harsha sir, for providing me an opportunity to present my research in this forum.